TIFU. I had an interview but mixed up the time zones. Interview was at 4 p.m. So, I put on my calendar, interview with less than company at 4 p.m., and got myself ready for that time. This interview was with a very prestigious financial firm in NYC and one that would absolutely be my dream job. It would also mean working with a couple former colleagues again, who I really jived well with before when we worked together at another place. And it would mean a better working culture situation for me, which would allow me to resolve some lifelong goals at long last. I got my sports blazer dry cleaned and all pressed, pick out a nice button-down shirt, get my hair all ready, just make myself entirely neat and professionally presentable. I've got all my typical questions for asking in a third-round interview. And I've also set up my list of typical questions asked in this kind of interview with cheat sheet answers I've written to help in case I space out or get nervous. I'm about as ready as I'll ever be, I think to myself, while I'm going through my lists of questions, asking them to myself and verbally providing the answers back. I test my webcam and my microphone to make sure they sound and look their most optimal. 3:11 p.m. rolls around and I get a call from the HR hiring manager. Are you going to make it? They're waiting for you. I look at the clock, thought it was at 4 p.m. I think to myself. But then a brick in the form of a realization hits my brain. It was 4 p.m. Not CST where I live. So 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. My heart sinks instantly. I quickly sit down, fire up Teams, and get on the call. The interview itself goes really well, but I'm still very mad at myself for making such a dumb mistake. Confounded face. TLDR. I mixed up time zones and ended up 10 minutes late to an interview. Disappointed. I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, I should have known better. And who would hire anyone who makes such a dumb mistake? But I've been on the other side of the interview. And you honestly will probably be fine. Most people would understand, and still give you a shot. And if it's a company that wouldn't give you that chance, you're probably better off without the job. Good luck. For a third-round interview, I can't imagine this will dissuade them very much. It's a reasonable mistake. At least they pinged you and you still did the interview. One time I had an interview for a place in London, UK, and I thought the interview was at 7 a.m. I got mixed up with PST versus PT, and when I converted the time zone, of course I converted it to the wrong one and it was actually at 6 a.m. Can't remember if they pinged me or not, but in any case I was fast asleep. Woke up at 7 to do the interview. Saw an email that said that I missed it. And then I couldn't reschedule because they said they were no longer hiring. Unsure if true or they were just mad at me. I work across 4 time zones, and for an added bit of fun I'm in Arizona, which doesn't have daylight savings time. It happens. All you can do is apologize. Kind of on them for not sending the invite correctly. I always send out meeting invites in the customer's time zone. They pinged you. If they were not that interested in the first place, they wouldn't have bothered. They wanted to give you a chance to interview because they have a solid interest in you. Did you tell them what happened? That wouldn't bother me as an interviewer. I did the same and landed my current job. Fingers crossed that the same happens for you. I have literally had CEOs screw this up. Let's hope they don't mind. My strategy for every single meeting invite confirmation is to write their time zone followed by mine. This first time I say, hope you don't mind. Gotta do this to keep it straight. We'll be meeting at 2 p.m. NYC, 1 p.m. Chicago time. If just confirm their time zone to be polite, my brain will retain the wrong time zone no matter what I put on my calendar, and I'll be in the kitchen making a peanut butter sandwich at the appointed time. They fact you were set and ready to go a whole hour before your interview. Even if you were, technically, late would have worked for you emo. I think it's a hiccup they can overlook. Especially since the interview went well. They held a Teams call without sending you a calendar invitation? Lol what? Been on the other side of the table and kicked myself for screwing up the invite. Safe to say we've all been there at some point. After moving from EST to CST, I always specify CST EST when arranging anything. Too easy to lead to miscommunications. If you were upfront about the mix-up, I'm sure they wouldn't hold it against you. We're all human, after all. I work in recruiting. In emo, it's kinda bad form for the company to send you interview details in their time zone and not yours. Also, interview timing issues happen all the time. I'm sure you were super courteous and apologetic, so don't sweat it. During one interview process, I made so many mistakes it was embarrassing. I have no idea what happened because I'm not normally like this. Let's list it out. 1. I messed up the contact information for one of my references. Instead of listing their work line, I listed mine. I tried to mention it during the phone interview and got rudely shut down by the hiring manager. When he said, "It's a little presumptive to be talking about reference checks. We're not even to that point yet." Okay, dude. When it got to that point, I saw I had a missed call on my work line from them. He then called my employer's main line and asked for the person who served as my reference. 2. I had a grammatical error on the cover letter and a formatting issue on the resume. 3. During the in-person interview, I dropped a glass of water. It shattered on the floor and spilled ice and water everywhere. They somehow still offered me the job after all that. I have no idea how or why, because I would have eliminated someone for any of those errors. For what I do for a living, accuracy and attention to detail is important, as is not breaking things. In the end, I ended up turning them down because the organization and the job didn't seem like a fit. You would think I'd been high or drunk when working on the application materials. But I wasn't. I was apparently just having a very off day. If you're the best candidate they interview, they'll still want you. Simple as. It's not great, obviously, but this won't be the determining factor in whether or not you get the job. And I'd question whether I'd want to work at a place where it was. Just to confuse you more, EST is the same time as CDT, which you're currently on. Typical of an internal recruiter to have failed to specify the time zone. The op bears responsibility, too, but the HR person is being paid to not make errors like that. Bro, I did the same thing today, but opposite. EST to CST, I was an hour early waiting for the call. Honestly, the HR person who set it up should have made it clear. Every person in that meeting has made that mistake. I work in HR and we see that all the time. It's probably not as bad as you think.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. ITrCast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.